Mike Snyder, our friend from WTAM Sports, has been following the Browns for a long time. And I saw Mike on Twitter after the game. You said in your lifetime you don't think there's ever been a worse performance by a kicker that you can.
When you add it up, Matt, and think about, as I was telling your producer Campy, it was in a dome, for crying out loud.
And that's the point you made. You said it was in a. It'd be one thing if it were outside. It was in a dome stadium. And you feel you do feel for the kid because he wanted to make them too. But at the same time, you're a pro and you got to make extra points.
Well, you got to make points. I mean, it's one. It is now. It's not a gimme. Since they moved it back, it's like a 32, 33-yard attempt. So it's not necessarily a gimme. There's others that have missed now. So I think it was a good move by the NFL. It isn't just a concession point. But my gosh, after you missed one, you got to make the second one.
Yeah,
and that was the one you talked about, Matt. The last field goal, I had no confidence. I was pretty surprised the Browns got into range, but I had no confidence that was going to go. He had missed three left, and then he pushed that one right. So it was sad. You feel absolutely, and we know in football it doesn't really come down to one guy, but quite often it does go with a kicker. Let's be real. You play a game, and that's what that guy's there. He either makes it or he doesn't, and in this case, he did not.
So let's talk about the quarterback situation, because all I've heard all morning is it's time to move on from Tyrod Taylor and move on to Baker Mayfield, when the reality is you got a tie and a very close loss to two teams that were picked to win their division. And I thought the offense, particularly in the second half of both games, has been pretty good under Tyrod. Now, he did have the big turnover. So are you a part of the gallery that's saying, look, we need to move on and go to Baker Mayfield? Are you happy with where they are offensively?
I'm not happy with where they are offensively, Stan. It's been sporadic, but I'm not ready necessarily to throw Baker out there. I do think that and I kind of get where Dorsey is at, the GM. He's probably using Pat Mahomes as his example in Kansas City, who did not play at all last year. Look what he's doing.
Yep.
I think you've got some things you're trying to put together offensively, I think, before you put Baker in. I think that's what he's trying to do. The offensive line is very new. I didn't think they were too bad yesterday. I think they showed some strides from that first game. So I kind of get where they're going. Then we've had the influx of wide receivers now with Josh Gordon now gone, apparently on the verge of being traded maybe to New England as we even speak. Hugh Jackson was supposed to have a press conference an hour ago, then a half hour ago, and now it's been pushed back to like 4. So they're doing some things right now. But no, I get kind of where they are, but I do wonder if Sam Darnold and the Jets come in here Thursday and win, then you got to start asking yourself, well, what are the Browns waiting for with their guy?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, Mike. You lead me to my next question. Do you think Thursday night is a big night for Tyrod Taylor? I mean, his numbers actually were fine: 22 for 32, 46. The touchdown, he then got him into field goal range at the end. He did have the big interception, though. But statistically, he was fine yesterday. But if they lose again and all of a sudden they're 0-2-1 and they lose to Sam Darnold, does the heat get turned up to does it get louder to get Baker in there?
Well, I think for sure, especially if they see Darnold there. But so that's out there. Yeah, I do think if he would come in, this is a big game not only for Tyrod. I think it's a big game for Hugh, how they play at home. This is a game, all right, you've shown some things that hey, the defense has played pretty well against two Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and you're 0-1-1. Now you're at home against a rookie quarterback with a team that certainly is looking to improve, kind of in the same boat the Browns are in. So you need to play well and really win that game Thursday. That's what's in front of them. If they don't, and depending on how it looks, yeah, I think that it gets louder. The noise becomes much louder in terms of, like, where is Baker Mayfield?
So let's talk about Hugh Jackson here. I mean, can this season, because of all the change in the front office, can this stand up on its own for Hugh, or the last two seasons, do they play a major role? And here's my point: they've got a loss and a tie, but there's no question that this team has improved significantly. Been very competitive with two teams that are probably going to be in the playoff and in the hunt, but they haven't won one of them. So if they lose to the Jets in another close game, does this begin? Are we looking at Hugh's entire tenure, Or are we going to look at this team and acknowledge that they have improved significantly and they're a lot more competitive?
Well, Stan, I think that the fact that they came back with Hugh after 1-31 shows you that the ownership does want to give Hughes a chance. I think they're giving him a lot of rope. I think 1-31 is I don't know that you can just separate yourself from that, even though the roster was horrible. And they are making some progress. I think Greg Williams is going to get more of the credit for that because he does work on the defensive end. I don't think that he's a head coach. I'm not saying that, but I do think that ultimately, though, you've got to find a way to win some games. And that's the way it has always been. And we're not talking about a lot here. You only got to win 2 this year to double your output from the last 2 seasons. So I just think now, though, those need to become victories. And, yeah, they did some things on the road. They've had a couple of games where you can say, okay, this is a better team. It is a better team. But that does need to start translating into a win, into some wins. And Thursday night, that opportunity is there.
Mike Snyder, WTAM Sports up in Cleveland, joining us. I call Thursday night, Mike, the palindrome game. A palindrome is a word that's spelled the same forward and backwards. And if the Browns lose, then Hugh Jackson's record is a palindrome, 1-3-3-1. It's this 1-33-1. It's the same backwards and forwards. And it feels like, I get Stan's point, but it feels like 1-33-1 and a team that you feel like you should have beaten. I wonder if Hugh's job's on the line, fair or unfair.
But I'm the only guy that thought they would win one of these first 2 games.
You are the only one that thought that they would. But is it ridiculous to think that Hugh's job could be on the line Thursday night?
I don't think it's ridiculous, but I would be surprised again, considering that they're at a point where they could be 1-33-1. I don't know who you're going. Haley is he's kind of a brusque kind of guy, and I don't know that he's a head coach, but I think he came here maybe with that thought. I don't know how that relationship is really working. Hugh's always called the plays. He's had to relinquish that this year. I don't think that could be easy for him right now. I think Greg Williams is running the defense. That's going pretty well, but I don't think you want to change that role for him beyond where he's in charge of the defense. So I guess what I'm saying is even if it's a competitive game, and there's no reason to think that it won't be, that even if they would lose, I don't think that Jackson would necessarily be fired the following day or that weekend. I think they would go a little longer with him yet. But again, certainly the clock is ticking, I think, going in. I think it's beaten faster if indeed that is the case.
Last one, Mike, and that is the Josh Gordon situation. And you mentioned that Hugh's press conference has been moved back, and maybe there's going to be a trade announced, and the rumors are out there that the Patriots might swoop in. But it's obvious, with the announcement that Ken Dorsey made Saturday, that it's over for Josh Gordon in Cleveland. And I'm wondering, is there disappointment? Is there relief? Is there, my gosh, it's about time? What is the feeling in Cleveland about Josh Gordon and that whole messy situation finally being gone from the locker room?
I think it's a great thing to that's it. Whatever went on, I don't know what went on that after all that time in the off season, then all of a sudden this thing comes out that he's not going to be there for camp. Now he gets through camp and then he made a play last week, no question, against the Steelers. That's what he can do. He's like the forbidden fruit guys. But I just think that they have gone every mile they can with this guy. And I guess whatever he did, he showed up late Saturday. Then he was complaining about his hamstring. And Stan, you know this. If you can't count in football, if they can't count on you, no matter what the talent level is, you're not long for the place. I think they've gone way too long almost with him. They're trying to go in a new direction, trying to be a fresh start. They've got some young talent and I think some young up-and-coming players. You just can't deal with this anymore. If Belichick wants to deal with him in New England, then so be it. It's kind of stunning that the Browns let Corey Coleman go. He's gone up there, and now maybe Josh Gordon. I don't know what that says, actually, but I think for the Browns' perspective, it's time to move on. And I thought yesterday Callaway's play was encouraging. You've got Jarvis Landry. You've got some guys. And really, and what Gordon has done, even though he had that catch against the Steelers, he was on the field a lot. They never seemed to really hook up. I don't know if he was running the right routes for Tyrod to find him in that game, but he was on the field a lot, and they really didn't go to him much. And that has been the case. He hasn't been around. They can't really count on him, even when they get him to the game, that he's even going to run the right route. So for all that talent, I think the Browns are making the right call. If they get anything for him, and even a conditional, some kind of pick down the road, to me that says something for John Dorsey, because I think everybody knows. I mean, he said it Saturday. They're releasing him at 4 unless they make a deal.
Yep, such intoxicating talent, but you can't make a guy play.
And why would anybody make a deal if John Dorsey has put it out there that they're going to release him? Why wouldn't they just wait?
Because then it ends up being a bidding war, right? I mean,
Well, there's a few things with that too, Stan, and I guess that Gordon would actually have some more leverage if he would, in essence, I guess, make him a free agent. And right now he's under contract for $790,000, which by NFL top receiver category is small change.
Gotcha.
So I do think there may be more than one bidder in this. Teams will go. Yeah, I think it's one of those cases where this guy has so much ability that teams are willing, that we're the ones that can figure it out. I would doubt that happening, but there's always someone to say, maybe we can figure it out for this guy.
Yeah.
I think that's what's happening here.
I saw former Steelers coach Bill Cowher say he wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole, and there's people that feel that way, but there's the other people, you're right, Mike, that are like, gosh, we can fix him and all that stuff. Hey, Mike, great stuff. Appreciate it. Hopefully Thursday night the victory fridges will be unleashed in Cleveland.
Can I use the if they win, that's right. They won't have the palindrome that you're talking about. But can you imagine 1-1? 1-1, it kind of changes the whole dynamic.
It does
of the season. It really does.
It really does. You're right. So, I mean, they're 1-1. You're okay after 3 weeks.
Hey, look, they're still in division race right now.
Yep, they are.
Oh yeah, the way things look, and you have reason to say, okay, maybe we got something going here. Which I think we've seen some promising signs. But you got to win a game, and Thursday should be a very interesting night up in Cleveland as the Browns and Jets go at it.
All right. Thanks so much, Mike. Appreciate it very much.
Anytime.